Pujaran. She is the director. And we have the panelists. The first one, Associate Professor Dr. Lerlak Sĩ Kichakan. He is a former dean from the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, Chiang Mai University. And now he is the PODD project head. And the second one from the Mr. Daniel Marco Siegfried, co-founder and head project for Child Dream Foundation, the University for International Agency Engagement. And another person from the Payap University, Dr. Tien Leelaman, Vice President for Academic and Research. And now I would like to give the floor to the MC, Dr. Oraon, please. Please welcome all. Yes.
University leaders, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to everyone. And welcome to the second day of the conference. It's my pleasure to be the moderator for this panel, which is on how universities can better engage with international agencies to drive the SDGs. Just a quick introduction that I'm the director of the School of Public Policy here at Chiang Mai University, and I'm also part of the United Nations Committee of Experts for Public Administration to drive SDG goals in the public sector. So it's my great pleasure today to moderate this session and to learn from our panelists about their work and about especially their ideas of how we can better facilitate effective engagement between universities and international agencies. So we have 3 panelists, and I'd like to start with Associate Professor Dr. Lerlak, for him to first share the experiences of PODD, Participatory One Health Disease Detection, which is a community-owned digital surveillance system for outbreak control, pandemic prevention, and mitigating disastrous risk. You'll have 15 to 20 minutes, please, and then we'll move on. I'd like for all presenters to speak first, and then we'll open up the floor for any questions and discussion points. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everybody. I'm going to talk about PODD in our language. We pronounce as PODD. That means look well and you will see. Actually, this PODD originates from PODD. And it is a community-owned One Health surveillance system for early detection and rapid response to stop outbreaks, avert pandemic, and minimize disaster. If you are going to ask me how we engage the international organization, there are some keywords in this title. The first one is about One Health. One Health is the approach which is going to mitigate grand challenges. If it's a grand challenges, you need One Health approach. You cannot do by yourself, by your organization alone. You need multi-sectoral, you need multi-professional collaboration to mitigate or to face with the grand challenges. And those sectors we cannot avoid, or we have to work with the community. The community is one of the sector that if you would like to achieve the good results, you have to work with them. This is the second keyword. And the grand challenge in my topic, there are several, starting from outbreak control, disease control, especially those pandemic threat. Why we can engage the international organization to work with us, because we aim to avert pandemic which occur in a village, started from the village. So then I like to show you some of the methodology and the results we have so far. So the approach we use to run our project is one of the key actor is the local government, which we believe that they represents the interest of the community. And from the local government, there are three components in the PODD system that support or help our work success. The first one is the One Health Operational Center at the community level. And the second one is the PODD volunteer reporter. That is the normal villager in the village. And the third one is that made this idea possible is the technology. We use the smartphone and the digital tool to to analyze, to capture the report which the normal villager report into the system. The computer will capture this automatically and then will interpret that this is matched the case definition. The chicken die, many very high mortality in the village can be a bird flu and then outbreak and then spread to other continents to be a pandemic. So we make this possible by using computer. Otherwise, the villager, the local government, they don't know which this is the very threatening disease that can spread from animal to human. That is how we do the work. So I will skip this and show you this picture. After the villagers report an abnormal high mortality, for example, in whatever, but in this case maybe is in chicken. The system, the PODD computer system will automatically draw on the map the red area, the yellow area, and the green surrounding area. That means the outbreak area in the village and the buffer zone. The yellow area will be the buffer zone, and the green area will be the surveillance zone. This will appear on the computer at the local government, and then the mayor will see, oh, this is a very dangerous case occur in our village, in this village, and then the surrounding one. And according to this area, they will apply the community contingency plan to cope with the problem or to stop the outbreak. This is nearly impossible without this digital tool and without this PODD system. I'm going to show you how the result is that. This is, for example, the report that the villager volunteer sent to the system. When you see an outbreak, If we talk with the veterinarians, the human doctor, when you use the outbreak, they will ask, oh, how many animal or how many people sick, whether it's higher than the endemic situation. But when you see this picture, you need not to ask. It's a real catastrophic event happen over there. So I'm going to show you that the results, how the PODD system support or empower the community. We measure by the timeliness, how fast they report or how fast they detect the outbreak. So within 3 days, the event occur, and then the local governments know that this is an abnormal event already occur in the village. It's almost 50% of them, 45%. So according to the WHO, if the avian influenza case, which can infect human as well, if we should detect as fast as the 3 incubation period, that means in 9 days, this outbreak can be controlled. So within 6 days is 63% of the case. And within 9 days, that is the optimal one, is 80%. There are about 2 episodes that a little bit too late. So, and when we see how fast the local government respond or act to control those abnormal events, you see 54% they react or control the outbreak on that day. They got the report. And within 2 days, 90%. Within 1 day, 90%. Latest within 2 days. This is impossible if we use the conventional system. That means we have to report to the district office, we have to report to the provincial office, and we have to wait the order from Bangkok how to do with the case. And you see the results of the outbreak. So 8 out of the 11 episodes, that means 72%, the outbreaks were controlled within that village. Only 3 episodes or 77% that the outbreak spread to other villages. But still within the Tambon or sub-district. So, and the success of this story is come from the help or support from outside, from the district of authority or not. The answer is no. The villager, they control this by themselves. This is an abnormal high mortality in chicken. If you know the village, you know that it happens frequently. And some of them are the virus disease. They cannot control. But this shows obviously that the community can manage by themselves with supported from PODD system. And this is not that the authority ignore this. The authority also be informed 100% of the case, because the pot digital system will also automatically notify to all relevant stakeholders, including the animal health, public health, not only the mayor that got this message. In these 11 episodes that were very serious, we found no human disease. So the system also detects not only the animal health, but also the public health, the human health. So I would like to thank the SCO Global Trade Fund who partner with us to create this PODD system. And now is become this Global Trade Fund become the ending pandemics foundation. The president of the foundation reiterated and told me several times, don't forget your word. You say that this is the community-owned system. It's never been such a system anywhere in the world. It's only the community-based system. When we use a community-based system, it means that somebody else at the higher level owns that system. The community just support them. But this is not the community-based, but the community-owned system. And because of this, I think we can engage the international organization to work with us. I'm going to Cambodia to talk about this PODD for the public health and animal health, the One Health team of the Cambodian government, the public health ministry and agriculture ministry tomorrow. And 6 months ago, we were contacted by the FAO that they would like to try the PODD system in Laos, PDR. And last week, I was in Hanoi and speak about this, invited by Southeast Asian One Health University Network, supported by USAID. With this, I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Lerlat, for providing us a very impressive, detailed explanation of your project that has been ongoing for several years and has proven to be a very successful case of how a local university with communities can work together to actually influence globally. And the key word is community-owned system, not community-based, which I think is very powerful. So let me continue on to yet another very exciting case presented by Mr. Daniel Marco Seifred from Child's Dream. And the title is Empowering People to Responsibly Shape Their Communities. And he's coming from the view of nonprofit organization that works with children in this Mekong region. So with that, Mr. Daniel, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you very much for inviting us to come here. I think this conference is very important, because I think nowadays we are facing certain issues that are no longer specific to a certain country, not specific to a certain sector. But in order to really address some of these global challenges, we do really have to engage and we really have to work together as NGOs, as universities, government, as well as the private sector in order to really tackle some of these large challenges. So I think this is a very important conference. I also believe very much in being inspired and getting inspired, because I used to be a banker in the past, and 15 years ago I had enough of banking and I decided to move to Chiang Mai in order to establish Child's Dream, which by now actually has become quite a, I would say, an impactful organization here in Southeast Asia. I'll just give you quickly an overview about our foundation. So it was established 15 years ago. I'm originally from Switzerland, so we are also established in Switzerland, but then also here in Thailand. Our head office is here in Chiang Mai, but we have field offices in Siem Reap and in Yangon. We have close to 45 staff. We work mostly in Myanmar, Laos, Cambodia, and Thailand. And our main interventions are basically health, basic education, and higher education. Annually, we have a rough budget about 260 million Thai baht, or which is equivalent to about $8 million per year. We reach every year close to 300,000 beneficiaries, and we have implemented over 600 projects in these 4 countries. In my presentation, I will be talking mostly about how Child's Dream can engage with maybe a university or other education sector in general. And then I will have 2 really interesting case studies where we actually have a very good collaboration already to showcase you how Child's Dream actually effectively already works with the universities. Why do we work in the Mekong sub-region? Obviously, we have in all the 4 countries, we have rampant corruption, which basically causes the pampering of the development and has a lot of other problems such as inequality, poverty, and so on. Save the Children recently launched an end of childhood report. This is basically why the childhood of a child ends earlier than normal. So you see, we still have quite high mortality rates in the countries. Many, almost a third of the children are malnourished. And I think for us, which is very important and which we use quite often is, you can see Cambodia, Laos, and Myanmar, between 20 to 30% of children are out of school. So these are children that are supposed to be in schools, but they are not. And these are definitely things which we aggressively work on. Yesterday, I also found a very interesting statistics. This is the average number of years a person is educated age 25 and older. So this means this is the current workforce of a country. How many years the current workforce of a country has been studying. So you see in Cambodia, the average is just slightly over 4 years of education. You can also see a big difference between male and female. Laos is doing slightly better. Myanmar is almost the same. Thailand obviously has almost 8 years of schooling. But you know, this shows you how productive this society can be. You know, if you just get 3 years or 4 years of education, how productive can these people really be in order to develop their country? So that's the reason why Child's Dream basically works on 3 main interventions: health, basic education, and higher education. And I will, as I go through our interventions, I also come up with some ideas how we can interact with other partners, especially universities. In health, we aim to reduce childhood mortality and improve health and hygiene in schools and communities. Here are some of the statistics. Our foundation has been supporting a children medical fund, which is basically a collaboration between us and mostly the university hospital here in Chiang Mai to provide life savings operations for children. And you can see over 1,400 children have so far received such an operation. We also do a lot of school health, typical wash program, sanitation program. In basic education, here we aim to increase access to quality education. So there are 2 steps for us. It's basically first, It's about making sure that all children in the 4 countries do have access to education. And there are still a lot of challenges in that, especially with indigenous communities in countries such as Myanmar, Laos, but also here in Thailand. Often they're living in remote areas. So the way we address this, we actually, over the years, we have built close to 300 schools. We also provide over 1,000 scholarships to students to finish high school, and also supplement teachers and students' supplies so that they can also be very proactive in their learning. We complement this also with teacher training as well, because also besides just increasing access, we also want to make sure that the quality of the education is improved as well. So here are some ideas how we can potentially work together. So Childstream runs, for instance, here in Thailand, we run a volunteer teacher program called Kru Asa, which we select young motivated people to actually go and teach in some of the schools that we have been supporting in mostly mountainous areas in Chiang Rai province and Mae Hong Son province, Chiang Mai province. So we are looking constantly for maybe freshly graduated teachers to become volunteer teachers in our program. We also are open to receive interns as well. So if you're representing a university and you're looking for placement for some of your students, especially if they have a community development or education background, we are very happy to look at their profiles. And I think something which is very important is because Childstream often works with indigenous communities. And one of the main factors why students are struggling to get educated is because they're being forced to learn the nation's language. So here in Thailand, it's Thai, right? So a lot of students unfortunately drop out because they are not allowed to speak their mother tongue in school. And that's actually also in Laos the problem. In Myanmar we face the same challenges. So I think the universities should help us to help raise the importance of mother tongue based multilingual education for indigenous communities. Especially we see now many more indigenous students are going to universities. In the past this was not true, but now they are actually becoming very educated, and we should use them as a resource to really help bring mother tongue based education to these communities, so that younger children, and when they get into primary school, have a better chance. In higher education, so here we are looking at everything that is kind of post-high school. So here we are trying to create leaders and specialists that work towards the development of their country. One very large program here is we run a university scholarship program for Burmese, Laotians and Cambodians to be trained and educated to become leaders in their community. You see, we have basically awarded over 300 scholarships so far, and we have, I think, over 150 alumni. How can we engage here? Is because here we actually are looking constantly for interesting international programs where our students can go and study to, because it has to be a reputational undergraduate program, for instance in Thailand, but also in other areas. Now, I told you I have 2 case examples where we really kind of showcased how an agency like Childstream can work with the government or with the universities. For instance, this is the Children's Medical Fund. This was established in 2006, and as I said, this is basically a program to reduce the mortality of children with congenital diseases in Myanmar and Laos. So this is an extensive referral system that we have with health providers in Laos and Myanmar to basically find cases that children aged between 0 and 12 years old with a certain congenital disease that need life savings operation. They can't be treated in their own country, in Myanmar or Laos, so we will receive them in our safe house here in Chiang Mai and then basically we facilitate with the hospitals in the area to basically get them treated. We accept about 150 patients per year. Since the start, we have over 1,700 patients. The congenital diseases, or the diseases that we accept, are heart diseases, anorectal malformations, and neural tube defects. And the budget for this program is about 21 million baht per year. Here you can see most of the children that we have are heart conditions, about 83%. 10% is anorectal malformations and 7% is others. And then you see that over 73% of the patients have been treated successfully. 10% basically do not require treatment because they can heal by themselves. But you can see only about 5% of the patients have passed away. To highlight the collaboration we have, basically we mostly work with Swan Dog Hospital here, or the University Hospital here in Chiang Mai. They help us with outpatient consultation, inpatient caregiving, surgery scheduling, post-treatment follow-ups. They also help us with the referral of undocumented people. They also refer patients to us as well, because Swan Dog also has a lot of migrant children that go there. They have no funding, they have no documentation, so we also can help them. We get very nice discounts from the university hospitals. You can see up to 30%. If they can use it for research purposes, then we get higher discounts. Recently, we also purchased an oximeter machine for them as well. And here are our partners. I think what was really important for this program is that in the past, Thailand had very few cases of congenital heart diseases. So the doctors actually had very little practical experience on doing heart surgeries on children. But thanks to our program for the last 12 years, we were delivering so many patients that actually over the years, the Children Heart Center at University Hospital here in Chiang Mai became the center to actually get other doctors trained. So now also Chiang Rai, Lampang can also do heart surgeries on children as well. So it's basically a very good collaboration between an NGO like us and the university. The other one is the University Scholarship Program. I mentioned it already briefly. It's about creating a pathway for leaders and specialists to work for the development. So we select academically strong and motivated youth from Myanmar. Then we provide them scholarships to undergraduate studies at international programs. We coach the students during their studies and monitor our alumni, of course. At the moment, we have 82 active students, almost 150 alumni, and also a budget of about 17 million baht per year. Now, this person here is actually a very good example. He used to study at Payap University, and now he's the youngest member of parliament in Myanmar. So we do have, out of the 150 alumni, we have some really impressive change maker for society. And this is exactly what we try to achieve with this program. We bring them here to Thailand, get them educated, get them motivated, and then they go back to their country and get into a job, a position where they have a huge leverage on the development of their country. You can see here some of our indicators for this program. We have basically a graduation rate of 81%. So that's actually very, very high compared to most other programs, which means that most of the students actually graduate. Then you see also only about 3% are unemployed currently, and most of them are living back in Myanmar. Some of them actually are living on the Thai-Myanmar border, working on migrant and refugee issues. Now, this is very interesting because this basically shows what they are currently, our alumni, what they are working on. So you see, many of them are working for community-based organizations. Often, they actually start their own organization. They start their own program to have an impact on their community. basically really use what they have learned at university and go set up their own organization to support their community. About a quarter works in international NGOs. Then we have some in governments. Some obviously go into the private sector as well. But most of them, we say about 70 to 75%, are really working in a job where they help develop their community. Here, the collaboration is, we work with various universities and they help us with the admission, obviously with student visa processing, coaching while they are studying. Again, we get some nice discounts. So for instance, Bangkok University basically gives us 50% discount, Rangsit University 50%, APIU 15%, Chiang Mai Universities we are still negotiating. And so here are our partners. Here are our partners. But you know, I think this program is really important because universities have such vast resources compared to like an NGO like us. And it's not financial resources, but basically it's human resources, intellectual resources, and a lot of capabilities. And you know, it would be really nice that we can engage more so that the INGOs, even CBOs, can actually engage directly with universities to tap into those resources. For instance, I have another good example, again with Payap University. One of our programs in Myanmar basically used their curriculum on community development, and it's being accredited by Payap University. So Payap sends teachers and trainers to our schools, higher education schools, and then basically we deliver the curriculum and they basically give us accreditation and they look exams. And also now we are looking at social entrepreneurship also at Payap University as well. So there is many ways how we can collaborate, and I hope that, you know, I will be around here, and I hope that some of you can come up with some ideas as well. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Daniel, for providing us some examples of your work and, of course, the results of, and especially outcomes of your work, which is extraordinary for the children and the youths in this region. And you have actually led us to a nice segue into our next panelist. May I invite Assistant Professor Dr. Tien Lelaman, who is the Vice President for Academic and Research of Payap University, to share from Payap University's point of view how international agencies and universities can better collaborate. The floor is yours, Dr. Tien.
Thank you and welcome everyone. I'm very pleasure to talk today, and I thank you, both of you that mentioned about Payap University too. I want to invite you to, if you have a time to study, to stay here in Chiang Mai for a little bit longer, you can go to Payap University. We welcome everyone from other countries. Okay, for Payap University. Payap University, I would like to introduce you that our university, lucky that we established by missionary, Christian missionary from America, more than 100 years ago. They came to Chiang Mai, even in Thailand, in other province. And in Chiang Mai, they established a school, Christian school, such as Prince Royal Vidyalaya, Dara Vidya Academy, and also nursing school, and it's become to Payap, one of faculty of Payap University as well. We established right now, then until now. So in terms of university, international engagement in university, we start with the international before, more than 100 years ago, as I taught. So Payap University now, we have many collaboration with the other countries, so becomes truly international. As we mentioned about that. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Payab University, our aim is belong to a truly international. I mean, we have many activities involved with international engagement. Like we have many programs from America or Asian as well. Something like even both non-organization and organization as well. Something like United Board from America support us and sharing us about fundraising and other equipment about academic equipment and researcher too. Aguga that I will have to focus on, for example, United Board uses or Erasmus Plus that we have talked to, and we sharing knowledge each other during the committee and share program. It is the program that we share our students, like student abroad or share faculty members. Okay. And Aguga, that the example that I want to focus on, I don't know where you are come from. Your audience maybe come from other countries out of Thailand, maybe in Asia too. Maybe you come from one of the Aguga members too. Aguga stands for the Association of Christian University and College in Asia. We are close together and we work together in closely. Payab University have one of the member of this Aguga too. In the term of Aguga, we have a meeting conference every 2 years. And last time Payab University is the host and welcome everyone to share the knowledge in our country. The member of Aguga, we have more than 60 members countries in the world, not in the world, just only in Asia, right? Okay, and Aguga conference we have activity every year, like a conference or student affair, student camps, something, and many things that help us to sharing our knowledge, our equipment, our research, sharing. We have a student who study in our program, and share and work in the student exchange to study abroad and in our university, and also in inbound and outbound student come here, and our student come to abroad to study there. And also faculty members, we can share faculty members from our university to others, and that university, the member from Aguga, we share faculty to work here too. Okay. The obstacle of international agency engagement that Payab University is found now is, I want to say that one obstacle is about academic calendar. Academic calendar of Payab University now we start like a semester, only 2 semesters. First semester start in June and second semester start in August. It's not quite fit for the student when they go to abroad and then have to transfer credit to other university or host university. But when we study about the academic calendar, in Asia as well, we don't have a same calendar. Academic calendars like Japan, the calendar start on first academic calendar start on April, not June or August. So the student have maybe have less or delay they graduate for 1 or 2 semesters, something like that. And the second obstacle about the student confer is credit transfer, because in our curriculum we have a different course title, description and course learning outcome. We have to follow in Thai university. We have to follow the governor. So when we have to send students back to our university, we will have problems with the learning outcome or course title that students have to return to home university is quite different. Okay, that is a problem. But the best way that we have international engagement that very challenges for borders and education. Somebody tell me that student can study everywhere in the world because we don't have borderless in terms of education. But the government or the curriculum or quality or control of a curriculum maybe is a little bit obstacle. That is very challenging for us to become international engagement that we have to start with and work and solve that problems again. Okay, that's a little bit to share. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tian. Before I move on, may I invite those who are presenting in the parallel sessions that have not submitted their files to please submit your files to the drop file area outside. This is an announcement from the organizers. Okay, so we've heard from our three panelists on three quite different cases. One, the community-owned pandemic surveillance system. By the way, the word PAW, DD, for those who are unfamiliar with Thai language and northern dialect, PAW means to look or to observe, and DD means to do it carefully, so carefully observe and look. And it's a way to play with language, PODD, which also stands for the Participatory One Health Disease Detection. And we also heard the case from Mr. Daniel on Child's Dream, the foundation that works closely with children and youths and helps to empower people, especially in the education sector. And then lastly, we heard from the Vice President of Payap University, Dr. Tian, about how Payap University has grown and its collaborations, and also more importantly, some of the obstacles that are facing the university right now in terms of semester opening, closing times, and also the credit transfer, which I think it's common for many universities here in the ASEAN region. So with that, may I open the floor up for any comments, ideas, suggestions, thoughts from the audience, please. Yes. Please shortly introduce your name and affiliation, followed by your comments, please. Thank you.
Would you like to come up here?
Sorry, we apologize for the
No problem.
technical problem. Yep.
Robert Smith, I'm sort of doing some work as an academic advisor at Wailalak University, but my main involvement is on international aid projects, okay? Different thing, and got a paper this afternoon. You guys are doing really well with limited budgets. I've just had a look for another paper that international financial institutions, the main ones, issue loans of about $90 billion per year, and they spend about $10 billion on the capacity development component. And if there are no people here that are going to report me, a lot of that money is wasted. And the reason that it's wasted is because it's not sustainable. I talk to my colleagues and we all have the same view, is that for different reasons there's no interconnect. That, you know, they say that the government has requested the loan or the grant. In fact, the financial institution has recommended to the government, and then the government says, yes, we'll have the money. And they take the money and there's this mismatch. So we've got government departments that we're supposed to train, we don't have enough time, whatever. And there's a huge market there. If you could just grab a bit of that money, you know, huge amount of change needs to be done. And this is not just my view, a view of a lot of my colleagues, but obviously it would not be the view of the shareholders of the banks.
Thank you very much, Robert. So let me take a couple of comments before we go back to the panelists to see their views. Yes, gentleman in the back. Yes, it's working now.
Thank you very much for the presentations. I'm Dr. Dennis Batangan from the Ateneo de Manila University from the Philippines. My comment is actually for the PODD. We're also working on electronic systems, but for human health, EMRs, and actually working also with the local government. So I really appreciated the approach of really working with local government, on what we term in our case as techno-governance approach, no? Because technology will be there, it will improve, it will be enhanced, but the governance part should always be considered. The interface, no, between human health and animal health has been one of the main issues with emerging infections. There has been experiences as well in the Philippines of avian flu, and there has been instances of, as Dr. Retrack stated, no, situations where there is an outbreak in the community, and it takes time really to respond to those particular concerns. So my question is, how does the line agencies of human health and animal health respond or collaborate, or are there problems or issues relating to the interaction between those two line agencies? The other comment is probably under AUN, we could probably have some interactions between these areas of collaboration between human health and animal health in terms of possible methodologies that can be used to understand this interface. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's start with these two comments. Let me put Daniel on the spot. If you were to provide advice to the international financial institutes about effective capacity building programs, what would that look like to not waste the 10% of the 90 billion that governments take? And then we'll follow with Dr. Lertlat Lat to address the specific question on your PODD project.
Yeah, I can feel you with your frustration. I think many of us do. You know, I think there needs to be a fundamental change because, you know, I used to be a banker myself, right? So, and, you know, there is always ups and downs with the banks, but they always tend to forget. You know, when there is a good time, they will race for it, and when there is a bad time, they will then basically kind of go back into their shell, but they tend to forget. So my advice on how we could potentially tap into this, I think it's more of this, you know, like public-private partnership models, whereas, you know, maybe a financial institution directly partners with an INGO or a university, or not so much with the government, because I think if this just happens, then I think there is a lack of accountability in the system. So I think, you know, in a partnership, you should have not just two partners often, but, you know, whether I see a change in that, you know, I think some of the financial institutions try, at least look, to be more socially responsible. It's a good first step. But I think there is still a long way to go. And unfortunately, often those people, well, they don't really care so much about the impact they are making, but more about how they can actually make more money. So it's really challenging, I think, to engage with banks. But we are trying. I mean, we get quite a lot of funding from banks as well. So I should not be talking too bad about them, because they also support us as well. So, and you know, they play an important role for the economy as well. Without banks, the economy wouldn't work either. So, so we should not be too harsh with them as well. But I agree, there is a lot of potential. To be honest, I think my bigger concern now is not so much banks lending, but I think it's more government-to-government lending. You know, I just came back from Laos, and the north of Laos basically seems to be totally in Chinese hands. There are huge mega projects everywhere, from dams to power plants to everything, to a high-speed train that is now being built around Luang Prabang. So I'm actually more concerned about these sorts of engagements, because I think it's kind of like where smaller countries like Laos, Cambodia, and even potentially Myanmar, and partially also maybe Thailand, could become heavily influenced by other countries. So that's actually, I think that's actually where a lot of development could be used, so a lot of money could be used for doing probably projects to actually increase equality rather than actually inequality. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Daniel, from an ex-banker who's now on the brighter side. And just, I like to add my own thought about capacity building. I think regardless of the source of funding, there's a huge problem in how we define capacity building training. And so to work towards that in terms of looking at what capacities, which ones would really link to SDGs, which ones would really serve the alignment of SDGs, and so on and so forth, is something that universities can also play a large role in, and to ensure the quality of the training, that it does provide the right skill sets for people. And so I think that's a question that's not linked to the financial source that we can work on. So now, Dr. Lat, would you like to address the question on an interface between human health and animal health?
Yeah, I think I have to repeat the importance of the One Health approach, because this approach was emerged as a global agenda for this interface problem between animal health, public health, and the environmental health. And on One Health belief, the world is facing many grand challenges which really threaten, whether climate change, or I think in Southeast Asia, it's the smoke problem is going to come in the next few months. This we need multi-sectoral approach. So this is, we need to cope with this interface problem. So we need One Health approach to address this. And may I go a bit on this AUN? So Southeast Asian One Health University Network was founded as 8 years ago for this to promote this One Health among the academicians. And most of the members of COHUN, of this organization, is also AUN member. So Laos and Myanmar and Cambodia is going to join this network. Philippines not yet, but there was an express that Philippine University also would like to join. And the foundation, the Southeast Asian University Network, or COHUN Foundation office located in Chiang Mai University. If you're interested, you can talk with them more. And I emphasize that it's really we need only such that approach so that we can survive those grand challenges facing not only us but the world, the planetary health as well.
Thank you, Dr. Lertlat. We have time for perhaps 1 to 2 more comments. Yes, lady in the back in purple, and yes, 2 more comments, please.
Sorry, Professor Lakhana Thaikhrea from Chiang Mai University, Faculty of Medicine. I'm a medical epidemiologist. I work with 3 ministries: Ministry of Public Health and Ministry of Natural and Resources Environment, กระทรวงสาธารณสุข กับกระทรวงทรัพย์ and I involved in the surveillance, and I really understand what struggle of this kind of human health and animal health, because under that they have the government, like universities for training, but for execute command and prevention is by Ministry of Public Health for the health of human, right? And the animal is belong to another ministry, but the academic is another thing, like training, but no execution. So I think if we look for this one, even you know that this year they have the massive outbreak of flea infestation in Chiang Mai University. But the thing is that the flea is not a dog, but it's attached with a dog, with veterinarians. So we need entomologists to involve. So it's kind of like really complex thing when you look at the human health. So in my comment, I think it's very good to have this One Health, but to work more effectively, I think we need like more political commitment from different ministries. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. More political commitment. Yes.
Just 2
Professor.
very brief questions. I'm Imran from Malaysia. Now to Daniel, in terms of funding, have you tried crowdfunding or sponsor a child or sponsor a village? Have you done that? And if you have, what are are there any successful results to report? In other words, where do your 280 million baht comes from?
From the banks.
Well, we're very good experience with banks, actually. The ASIAENGAGE conference is, organized by the AUN, USR, and S. The final S there actually means, stands for sustainability. So it's university social responsibility and sustainability of being socially responsible. So of course, it's got to do with funding. So that's your question. And the second question goes to Professor Lertlat. also related to funding, because you make a distinction between community-based and community-owned systems. Now, currently the work is funded by the Scholes Foundation, right? And when the funding runs out, do you think a community-owned system will continue to sustain itself when the funding runs out? So with your One Health system, what happens then? And by the way, you're very polite because the Si-Hun chairman is actually, Professor Lelak was the chairman of Si-Hun for many years. So, you know, he's got an enviable task of bringing ASEAN universities together on this open.
Thank you, Professor Imran. I believe there's one more comment, and this will be the last comment for this plenary.
Okay, I'm Dr. Pranit Songwatana from Prince of Songkhla University, Southern Thailand. Actually, I'm very impressed with your work. Actually, I have one question to Daniel. In my point of view, that I like to see that some of organization or foundation that work for the children. Is there any project that work in Southern Thailand? Because we have a lot of islands, and we found a lot of problem among the child health. Also, not only from the north, you can see you go to the hill, to the mountain, but we have a lot of sea that we cannot escape from the island, something like that. So is there any project that you funding or some project that fund for the Southern Thai people or children, thing like that? And also for the, I think, sustainability, I think is important because many projects that we work, sometimes when we leave out from the community, they cannot survive by themselves. So because they have lack of fund. But I think it's fortunate for the Chiang Mai. I think for the Northern Thailand, I found a lot of foundation, funding, support. But I urge the international agency to work for Southern Thai people as well. Thank you very much.
Okay, so thank you. Let me summarize. We have specific questions. Perhaps we'll have Dr. Lertlat answer first about community-owned, the financial sustainability of all of this. And then to particularly to Daniel, your financial sustainability, the sources of funding, and then can you go work in the South as well? I think that was the main question.
Before I answer, I would like to say or correct something. I was the chair of the Si-Hun for 2 years, but I succeed Professor Hasim from UKM. So in Si-Hun, we rotate the chairmanship every 2 years. And for the sustainability of the PODD systems, we think about this since we established that. And one of the reasons why we say that is the community owned, why we emphasize that the benefit of the system go to the community first. Because it's your own, you have to pay some. So when we start, they didn't get 100% from our project. And we start only from, we use the fund for allow 100 local government. Right now we have 300. The 200, they use their own fund. So that is how we design for the sustainability.
Thank you, Dr. Lertlat. And then Mr. Daniel?
Okay, so first a question about our funding. We don't do crowdfunding. We also don't do like sponsor a child. I think it's, often I find it rather unethical to do that. Most of our funding is, because given our background, because in banks, most of our funding is coming from very wealthy individuals in Europe, but also here in Asia. So half of our funding is actually coming from Asia, like places like Singapore, Hong Kong, Malaysia as well, and Japan. And what we see really a trend now is that since we started with Child's Dream, I think philanthropy became very important for many rich Asian families. And they are looking for a reliable partner to implement. They don't like to give it to large organizations like UNICEF or something. They look for smaller partners. And I think Child's Dream basically was an ideal partner for them. So I think most of the funding is coming from wealthy families. They also like to engage themselves more. So they come here, they see their projects, so they can also engage, and they also involve their next generation also, because I think many Asian families want to build a value system within the family that philanthropy should be part of a wealthy family, about giving back to society. So that's where our funding is mostly coming from. As for our work in the South, we actually do have one project in the South. It's only in Phang Nga, not so south, but still south for us. And honestly, I would love to have more projects in the south of Thailand. But overall, out of the $8 million US, we only spend about 5 million in Thailand. And this is just purely because there is just so much more need in the neighboring countries like Myanmar, Laos, and Cambodia. But as, let's say, the political system in Thailand as well as education has been affected over the last few years and has deteriorated over the last years, we also see that there is more room for us also to engage in Thailand as well. And for me, I do not discriminate where it has to be, north or south or Isan or whatever, but we are looking for interesting partnerships all over the country, especially for us on higher education, because we need more responsible Thai youth also, whether they're from the south or whether they're from the north, I don't care, but we need more responsible, socially active youth in Thailand. And so if the university in Sangkla has some of those youth and have maybe interesting programs, please reach out to us, because I think it would be interesting to see how we can collaborate with the South. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Daniel. So the plenary has come to an end, and I'd like to just conclude that from my point of view, there's been at least 2 very large points that I would like to take away with, which is the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, all 17 goals, is actually very beautiful because it forces us to think holistically about public problems that link at the global level to the very local level, to the individual level. And projects that all the panelists have shared with us, especially the One Health project, demonstrates that link, and therefore the capacity to holistically see things is what SDGs are forcing all of us to do. And second, as Professor Tien and also Daniel emphasized, is the capacity to collaborate, to open up, to see possibilities of where we can work together, to break the silos, to stop looking only at our university or our NGO or our source of funding and so on, which is not an easy thing to do, but it's something that we need to strive towards, the capacity to collaborate. So with that, I hope this panel has been useful for all of us and has given us more things to think about and more ideas to work towards the SDGs. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And the time for token of appreciation. May I invite Professor Dr. Imran to present the token of appreciation for the panelists. Please come down to this way. Yeah. Dr. Imran. Oh, sorry. Okay, the first one. Sorry. And the first one, Dr. เลิศลักษณ์ศรีกิจการ Thank you very much. And then Dr. Daniel, please. Thank you. Yep. Dr. Tian. Thank you. And finally, MC Dr. Oraon, please. Thank you very much. And may we take a photo together for panelists, please. Okay, thank you very much. And before we have a short break, about 10 minutes before we go to the session, 4 session parallel, 2 room in this floor and another 2 room and in the downstairs. I have a little announcement about community tour. Somebody, if interested in the community tour, go to the community in Lamphun province and go to Doi Suthep. Doi Suthep is a Suthep mountain, or go to visit Chiang Mai University. You can contact the officer in front of Chiang Mai room at the this floor in Chiang Mai room number 1. You can contact the officer over there. Okay, we have a short break, about 10 minutes before we go to the session.
So let me add some more. So for the one